at home, and today we're going to talk about our study of Africa. You can see from our passport here, this is my daughter's passport again, that we have looked at a lot of different countries in Africa. My daughter is really interested in the African continent, the African peoples, and animals. She loves lions. They're her favorite animal in the world, and she would love to go to Kenya and Tanzania one day to study the lions and other animals and learn more about the Maasai people. So we spent more time on Africa. It's also a really big continent, right? So we spent a lot of time on Africa. I want to say about 2 months, and covered a lot of countries and read a lot of fun picture books. So let me show you what we did. So this first book is great. It goes through, I'm not sure if it goes through all of the countries, but it talks about how Africa is made of many countries. A lot of people talk about Africa as if it's one big, the same, and it's not. There's lots of different countries with lots of different traditions and customs and ways of living. And so there's essentially a 2-page spread for many of the different countries. And we had fun. This is one you might want to read just like a spread a day, which is what we did because it's super long. You wouldn't want to read through it all in one day. I think it would be a little much, especially for a preschooler, but really even for an elementary schooler. So, and I really like the pictures in this one too. So that is Africa is Not a Country. I'm working with one hand today, so I apologize for any shaking. So back to my illustrated fables from around the world by Usborne. From this, we did Anansi and the Box of Stories, which is a fable. Sorry for the glare. A fable from Ghana. There's a lot of Anansi stories in Western Africa, and also I think in the Caribbean. He's a trickster spider. So those stories can be really fun. From Egypt, we read We're Sailing Down the Nile, which is a beautiful book. It's really fun. So actually, I just started in the back there. I should start in the front for you. It starts with a story. And it just talks about highlights going down the Nile. Tombs. So it's cute. And then the back has all sorts of information. So it shows you all of the landmarks that they talked about in the book, the journey, life in ancient Egypt. So there's all sorts of fun facts in the back, but they're really accessible. And again, it's beautiful illustrations. We're sailing down the Nile. While I'm here, there's one that I already brought back to the library, unfortunately, which is The Day of Ahmed's Secret. And it is more of a modern day Egypt book. It's about a young boy in Cairo. Modern being, I believe it was written in the 90s. So depending on when you're watching this, modern. Yeah, it's just about a young boy in Egypt going about his day, and he has a secret. And I will give away the secret just for you. Don't tell your kids. He learned to write his name. So for a preschooler, kindergarten, first grader, I think it's something they can really relate to in that. But it really shows his life in Cairo, and it's very different from our life here. So that is a really good read that I highly recommend, and I will include it in my list so you will be able to see it. Now, we did a bunch from Kenya. Mama Panya's Pancakes. We own this one because, yeah. I bought a bunch of these. One that my library didn't have, and two, especially the ones about Kenya and Tanzania, my daughter loves. Again, it's a fun story. There's counting. There's different animals hidden in the pages. And it's a fun story of, it's got a good moral at the end. They're inviting all their friends and they're afraid they're not going to have enough, and then everybody brings something. It's a little bit akin to Stone Soup, but I mean, it's not the story of Stone Soup. So, again, Mama Panya's Pancakes. This is Seeds of Change. It's about, you know what, I'm going to mess up her name. Let's see. Wangari Maathai. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. It's over here. Wangari Maathai, who was an environmentalist from Kenya who won the Nobel Peace Prize. And actually, she may still be alive. I should double check that. There's a couple books on hers. We chose this one because it's what our library had, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. She planted trees. Basically, she noticed that the cutting down of trees was hurting her community and the land that she loved. And it's colorful pictures. So this is another great one for Kenya. For You Are a Kenyan Child is another really good one for life in Kenya and animals especially. It's kind of funny. My daughter thought it was silly. It's, you know, about a little Kenyan boy and the animals and... oops, sorry, again, working with one hand here. It's got some... I'm sorry, I don't know what language they're speaking, but it's got some of their words in there. And hopefully I was pronouncing them correctly. So, yeah. So those are our Kenyan books. My daughter really enjoyed all of those. And then on to Tanzania. It's more of my daughter's favorite. Elizabethi's Doll. This is a library book, and I might actually get it for my daughter for her next birthday because it's such a cute book, and she really enjoyed it. It's, you know, about a little girl who finds a doll. She doesn't have a doll, so she actually uses a rock. And she cares for it, and it shows them going about daily life. And I will try to insert a picture. I'll stop here. I'm trying to insert a picture of my daughter. She dressed as, she basically dressed up as if she was Elizabeth from the book. She didn't quite get a pail on her head, but she had a blanket there. So hopefully the picture inserted, and that looks good. So again, this is a beautiful book. I love how books like this inspire play in children. That's really a sign that they're learning and processing what they're learning. So that was really fun for me to see. This is We All Went on Safari. It's a counting journey through Tanzania, and it has the different Tanzanian animals. It also has names of the Maasai children and pictures of the Maasai people in here. And the back, just like it's the same, I think it's Barefoot Books, which is the We're Sailing Down the Nile is the same. I think Mama Panya's Pancakes as well. They all have the more info in the back, which is written in a really accessible way and keeps with the illustrations, similar style illustrations and everything. So I highly recommend these ones. And we learn the names of the animals in Swahili, which is great. My daughter, she'll call giraffes Twiga now. She loves using their names. And it's fun to learn that lion in Swahili is Simba. You may have already known that, but she loves the Lion King. So that was really fun for her to learn. So we all went on safari. Moving away from Kenya and Tanzania now. This is Beatriz's Goat. This is about a Ugandan girl, and it's a true story. And it's about a family that gets a goat through Heifer International and how it changes their life. Again, it's another beautiful story with beautiful illustrations, and has really made us think about, you know, maybe when we're giving, possibly donating to Heifer International. So if that's something you might be interested in doing with your family, I recommend getting this book and going from there. I think it will really inspire you. Rain School. This takes place in Chad, and it's about the kids that, you know, they really want to get an education, even though it's not as easy. You know, it's a very different environment there. And they actually go and they start by, oh, sorry, it's a library book and it's a little bit beaten up. They start by building their school. And after they build their school together, they get to learn. And then at the end of the year, their school kind of falls apart again, their school building, but they'll come back the next year to rebuild it. So that's another great story. This takes place in Chad. Galimoto, I believe the author spent time in Malawi before writing this, and it's just a story about a boy who is determined to make his own Galimoto, and he goes around and trades and does other things. This is the Galimoto at the end. so that he may do it. And it gives you a taste of the life there because, you know, what the kids are doing, what the adults are doing, what he trades. So, yeah. Galimoto. We're going on a lion hunt. I think this one takes place in South Africa, but I'm not sure that it's that specific. It might just be in the savannah. I might be wrong. There might not be a lot of lions in Africa, in South Africa. But they just, yeah. It's like we're going on a bear hunt, right? But it's a lion hunt. So this is really cute because we've read We're Going on a Bear Hunt over and over again when my kids were younger. And so this echoes that, but it's a lion hunt. So that's a fun one. The last picture book I have here is Deep in the Sahara. And this one takes place in Mauritania. And it's actually about... It's a Muslim country in West Africa, and it's a little girl who wants a malafa like her mom and her aunt, and she's learning what a malafa is for. And we are not Muslim, but I love studying other cultures and other religions especially, and learning about them, so that, when we see a woman with a malafa, we're not necessarily making assumptions based on what our belief system and our religion is. We're trying to understand why they wear it. And this book is beautiful, and I recommend. We belong to a Unitarian Universalist church, and I was like, we should have this in our library. It's beautiful. I think from a non-Muslim point of view, any non-Muslim who wants to learn a little bit more about this particular area and their beliefs, it's great. I know that there's many different beliefs, even just within Islam, and different reasons and different head coverings and all that. But for learning about this particular area, I love this one. And I believe that's all of our picture books. I'm going to move on to some other books we use. These are the books that we used for our African-themed poetry tea. So these are poems from West Africa, I believe. And they're just fun poems. And so they work perfect for an African-themed poetry tea. You can see there's cute pictures too. And then along with this, the other books are not actually poetry books, but we kind of did a Swahili study. Not really. We read these Swahili books during our African poetry tea. So this is an alphabet book. It goes through... there's just a word for each letter of our alphabet in Swahili. And it gives you a description and everything. So it's a fun book for learning about the culture as well as the words. And similarly, there's moja means one, which is counting. Now this is actually, there is also Swahili counting in We All Went on Safari. And if you were going to choose one of those, I would choose We All Went on Safari. But it could be that your library has this one and not the other, or you want to do both like we did. So this is the counting one. And this, again, it actually also has more information too. So, I don't think it's an issue to do both. I don't think it's too repetitive. So those are what we did for our poetry tea / Swahili tea, we'll call it. So we cooked a recipe from Tanzania from this book. I don't have it marked right now. It's got a bunch of different recipes from Africa, Asia, South America, Middle East. So if you, like us, are in the Western world, this could be really fun to try new things, new flavors. I will try to insert pictures here of what we cooked. It was a dish with, we used corn, well, not cornmeal, but kind of like grits, basically. We didn't put cheese in it, with chickpeas and coconut milk and some veggies, and it was really, really good, actually. So that was, we had for lunch one day, and my daughter helped make it. This book was actually a gift from my sister a while back. Thank you, sister, who may or may not watch this. Yeah, so it's got lots of bread recipes from around the world, which is super fun because I love to make bread. So the one that we did from Africa is actually the msemen, and it's from Morocco. And so I don't actually have any books from Morocco, but what we did is I found a video on YouTube that was just kind of learning about Morocco from children. We made these, we drizzled honey on them, and then we sat and watched the video. You could also have some mint tea. I am not a huge fan of mint myself, but I do like lemon balm, which is in the mint family, so I made myself some lemon balm tea, and my son and I really enjoy that. So some msemen, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Moroccan video, and lemon balm tea, and it was a nice time. And these are not the easiest thing to make, honestly, but they came out really, really tasty. Okay, I don't currently have on hand the book that these are from, but these are from African Patterns to Color from Usborne. And here's just an example of some of the pages that I just photocopied so I could have the same pages for each kid. And they colored. My daughter does like very minimal coloring because we do it while I'm reading and she gets so absorbed in the story, but I still like to have them for her. So that's a fun addition. They have them from lots of different places. I'm not sure if I'm showing this in some of my other videos or not, but they also have one for Japan. They have a Celtic one, I believe I show, and I believe they have one from India. So you can look at the Usborne site and you'll see them all. This is African Patterns to Color. For our animal study, my daughter, chose lions, which was no surprise to me. They are her favorite animal in the entire world. So this was our notes. We copied and cut this page out of the book, and we might have found it online. I actually can't remember which one we did. And she chose the facts, and I wrote them for her. And this was the book that was our favorite we found from the library on lions. There is an adorable lion cub on the cover and inside, and so that, yeah, that makes the book. It just goes through, like, the cub is born and then learning to kind of the cub growing up. There's about Dad. We've also read other lion books too. My daughter actually owns some of her own books on lions, but this one was our favorite, so I decided this is the one I'm going to show you. So those were the resources that we used for Africa. I will compile them all into a list on my blog, so I will link that below for you to check out. Hopefully some of you will get some ideas from this. It is super fun to study geography. I highly recommend it, and if your child has a country or a continent that they are particularly interested in, I encourage you to dive in because you will all get a lot out of it. I hope you all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.